azul, lo facante bueno azul. Y bueno azul, y bueno azul, y bueno azul. Y bueno azul, lo facante bueno azul. Y bueno azul, y bueno azul, y bueno azul. Y bueno azul, lo facante bueno azul. Liberia, bueno so. Y bueno so, y bueno so, y bueno so. Y bueno so, Africa, bueno so. Y bueno so, y bueno so, y bueno so. Y bueno so, Liberia, bueno so. Zazo, y bueno man. Zazo, y bueno so. Wanjama, y bueno man. Vanjama, y bueno so. Kulao, y bueno man. Kulao, y bueno so. Nyakwetao, y bueno man. Nyakwetao, y bueno so. Bolao, y bueno man. Bolao, y bueno so. Vacante bueno so. Y bueno so, y bueno so, y bueno so. Y bueno so, lo vacante bueno so. Y bueno so, y bueno so, y bueno so. Y bueno so, lo vacante bueno so.
Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia, the hour of politics. Welcome. We have a breaking news for you. And so welcome to this breaking news, just breaking there in the homeland, Liberia. Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Those of you who have followed Focus on Liberia, we don't do breaking news. Even though breaking news is a good thing, we are not in this business. And so if you see us today breaking the news, you must know that this breaking news is worth breaking. The breaking news for today is interesting, very interesting indeed. NEC rules in the case filed against the Unity Party. So folks, if you are not aware, the Liberty Party and the ANC have filed a case with the National Election Commission following the withdrawal of the Unity Party and the Liberty Party from the CPP. They filed the case because, according to these two other parties, said in their framework document, which also is being contested, said that when a constituent member of the CPP leaves the CPP, that person or that party cannot fee a candidate in its name or in the name of the party that leaves. And so when this by-election that is scheduled for May 10th in Lofa County came to the picture, the ANC and the Liberty Party decided to test the troubled waters at the National Election Commission. So they filed this case praying or asking the NEC to make a decision that because the Liberty, the ALP, and the Unity Party are in violation of the CPP framework document that talks about when an individual political party withdraws from the CPP, that party cannot fee a candidate, decided to ask the NEC to rule in that case so that the Unity Party cannot fee a candidate, because we know the Unity Party has put forth a candidate, but I'm using candidate because that is the intention of the Unity Party, that it will fee a candidate in the upcoming by-elections. So the NEC has been looking into this matter. And finally today, the NEC has given its ruling in the matter. And so we will bring to you the ruling of the National Election Commission in the matter that it had before it, in which the ANC and the Liberty Party were asking the NEC to rule in their favor to stop the Unity Party from putting forth a candidate in the upcoming by-election, because in its own judgment and based on the language of the CPP framework document, the two political parties, the Liberty Party and the ANC, argue Unity Party cannot fee candidate because that's what the CPP framework says. So here is the finding, the ruling, not finding, but this is the decision of the National Election Commission. Wherefore, and in view of the foregoing, and so as to allow the opportunity for the Honorable Supreme Court to possibly consider the constitutional questions raised in this matter, the National Elections Commission, NEC, is hereby prohibited from taking any further action on any endorsement form or other documents put forth by the defendants herein regarding the feeding of a candidate until otherwise determined. So, folks, based on what I just read, this is what basically the National Election Commission is saying. And I must be very clear, first of all, to tell you, this statement is not a victory for any of the two parties to the particular matter that the NEC had before it. It is not any victory. What basically the NEC is saying simply is that it cannot rule in favor or against any of the two parties to this conflict. I mean, not conflict, this matter. Why? Because the NEC is saying the issue borders on constitutionality. In other words, this is a constitutional matter. There is also a matter of rights of individuals or institutions. So it does not have the authority as an election governing body to rule in any matter that borders on constitutionality or that has anything to do with the rights of individuals and an institution, it cannot decide in any such matter. So it is saying they will send the matter to the Supreme Court, because it is the Supreme Court that has the authority to decide or make a judgment in any case that borders on constitutionality. That is what basically the National Election Commission is saying in this matter that was brought before it by the ANC and the Liberty Party. Now, what does that mean? And what is possibly going to happen given the decision of the National Election Commission? What's going to happen is that the aspirant who has decided to run on the Unity Party's ticket, that aspirant, there was not a case filed against that aspirant. The case was filed against the Unity Party as a political institution, not to feed a candidate or should be barred from feeding a candidate. So if that is the case, does it mean that this gentleman who happened to be an aspirant and wanted to run on the Unity Party's ticket, is he being affected by this decision or ruling by the National Election Commission? If you are saying that the ruling is not necessarily against him, but squarely against his political institution, it affects him indirectly because he wanted to run on the Unity Party's ticket. As an aspirant, he wanted to run on the Unity Party's ticket. But now, because the Unity Party that have been trying to make the case that the Liberty Party and the ANC got no right, or they are in the wrong for saying that they cannot feed a candidate, and the main fact that this guy wanted to run on the Unity Party's ticket, he's being indirectly affected. As an individual, he may decide to run, but his quest has been to become the Unity Party's candidate. That now has a blockade to it because the ruling is that the NEC cannot decide whether or not the Unity Party can feed a candidate. That matter has gone to the Supreme Court. Now, what the NEC going to do is that the NEC going to compile and send the matter to the Supreme Court, and it will state the reasons why it could not make a decision whether or not the Unity Party put forth a candidate. It is obvious the NEC going to say what it actually communicated, that this borders on constitutionality. We believe we do not have the authority to make any such decision whether or not the Unity Party as a political institution can feed a candidate. So if the guy's sole purpose or sole goal was to run on the Unity Party's ticket, then of course, indirectly he's impacted and he's been stopped. And the thing is that he have filed an application, or in other words, the Unity Party have filed an application for this aspirant to become their candidate. And now that the Unity Party cannot go forth with putting this guy forth as their candidate, which indirectly means that Unity Party, there has not been a decision whether or not it can feed a candidate. This guy is being stopped indirectly. So he has a decision to make as an aspirant. Now the matter goes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is going to review what the NEC is to communicate to it. The Supreme Court will review and determine whether or not the NEC is right for saying we as an institution do not have the authority to rule in this matter whether the Unity Party can field a candidate or cannot field a candidate. If the Supreme Court reviews the documents that will be sent or communication that will be sent to it by the NEC, like I said, the Supreme Court will be looking for two things. One, whether the NEC is right that it does not have the authority to make the decision, or whether the NEC is wrong and that it actually has the authority to have made that judgment. If the Supreme Court review it and in its determination or in its founding believe that the NEC actually had the authority to decide this matter that the Unity Party cannot field a candidate, it will send communication back to the NEC that based on our review, you actually have the authority, go ahead and decide. If the NEC, after reviewing the communication that will be sent to, if the Supreme Court, after reviewing the communication, decides or determines that yes, the National Election Commission does not have that authority, then it will also give a rule. Then it will not entertain the case, and then it will be able to invite the parties when necessary, or if it feels that it's not necessary based on the findings that the determination they will make, they can also make a decision. So folks, this is getting so much interesting, as you can see. The other question we need to ask here is, does it mean now that NEC has reached or made this final ruling, it will stop all other election activities? There will be a halt to all other election activities? No. No. The National Election Commission does not have the authority to stop itself from executing what is a constitutional mandate. It is a constitutional mandate that the National Election Commission conducts a by-election when there is a vacancy, I believe, after 90 days. So the NEC will continue. The only institution that has the authority to stop the National Election Commission from proceeding with an election is the Supreme Court. So when the Supreme Court, until the Supreme Court makes a decision that all other election activities should be stopped, the National Election Commission will continue with the election activities for the by-election as been scheduled for May 10th from what's been reported. So what does that mean for the Unity Party if our election processes are yet to be put to a halt by the Supreme Court? It means that the National Election Commission is going ahead with the election with or minus a Unity Party candidate. But in this case, we can say minus a Unity Party candidate. The election continues. Now, you can also interpret that to mean that technically the Unity Party is more like, somebody can interpret it that way, more like being stopped or denied from putting forth a candidate in the election. Even though that is not the case, because there is not a judgment to stop the election. So the mere fact that election continues and there is not a ruling against the Unity Party that it cannot feed a candidate, the Unity Party is not being stopped from feeding the candidate. But again, on the other hand, the Unity Party chance of feeding a candidate has not gotten the blessing of the National Election Commission, has not also gotten the blessing of the Supreme Court of Liberia. So based on my reading of it politically, the Unity Party by default will not be able to feed a candidate as yet, because it will be the Supreme Court that will decide that stop all other election activities until this matter is resolved. The matter that Unity Party cannot feed a candidate or is barred from feeding a candidate is resolved. That decision has not been made yet. Election activities continue. Now, this aspirant who have been wishing to contest on the Unity Party's ticket, his case technically is also a separate matter. The Unity Party now can decide whether or not, or he can decide whether or not his rights are being denied. And he can ask out of the Supreme Court to stop all other election processes because he as an individual rights are being violated. His right to participate in an election, all right, that rights are being violated or denied. He can file a case toward the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court, after receiving that, will now decide whether or not he has a legitimate case to put halt to all other election activities until his case as an individual or as an aspirant can get the blessing, or the Supreme Court can give a ruling that this man's rights, this aspirant rights are being violated, or he's been denied as an aspirant and subsequently as a candidate. So all other election activities must be stopped. That is what he can do. In other words, the Unity Party too can decide to file a case saying, look, Supreme Court, I think we as a political institution, our right as a political institution to put forth a candidate is being denied here because the gentleman who is an aspirant who intended to run our ticket is yet to be shortlisted because there is a filing against our institution that we should be barred from feeding a candidate based on a clause in a CPP constitution that said when you leave, you cannot feed a candidate, and we think this is a violation of our right as a political institution. That is the only way it's going to happen. So, folks, I see on the other hand that folks in the Unity Party are celebrating. Folks in the ANC, folks in the ANC are celebrating that this is a victory for them. I don't know how this is a victory for them when the ANC ultimate goal here is that the Unity Party does not put forth a candidate in the upcoming election. I think the reason they are happy is that this is a test of the waters, that the CPP clause that when you leave, you cannot feed a candidate is actually constitutional, and that is in line with the Constitution because they argue that that is a contract that is signed. And Article 25 of the Liberian Constitution said that no law shall be passed to impair any contract reached. So that is why they are celebrating. They are hopeful that when their matter goes before the Supreme Court, based on the fact that Article 25 of the Liberian Constitution guarantees, in their argument, guarantees contracts signed by parties, and that the Constitution will guarantee or protect all other contracts. They believe that the Unity Party, even in the 2023 election, will not be able to field candidate. And they are basing their argument on this constitutional clause, and more so the fact that the NEC is saying, whoa, this is a matter that we cannot actually make a decision in. We'll send it to the Supreme Court. Now, the other reason they are also happy is that when the matter goes to the Supreme Court, I'm going to explain to you their reason for being happy. I don't see why they should be happy, but I know their reason, and I'm trying to bring that to you. When the matter finally gets to the Supreme Court, they said that they will exhaust all other legal action even when this matter goes to the Supreme Court. Now, when this matter is before the Supreme Court, it delays the Unity Party, because this matter will have to be decided for the Unity Party to be able to put forth a candidate in the upcoming election. The Supreme Court will have to rule. Apparently, they believe that they can apply all other legal tactics, legal maneuvering, and play all kinds of delays. And then the Unity Party chance of filling its candidate, in this case, Joseph Yuman Waka, it will be further delayed, even if at the end of the day, there will be a ruling in favor of the Unity Party, but it will delay the Unity Party in court. Chances in their calculation is that the matter might be decided at the Supreme Court very close to election time. And the Unity Party, instead of making all other preparation before election, they will now have to be fighting whether their candidate can run or cannot run. Their whole energies will be directed there. They will be 100% distracted. Best case scenario, if they get out, they will get out very late and will have very little time to focus on their campaign to set their candidate. And now we know that the Unity Party has serious challenges when it comes to raising funds. That will even minimize the chances of the Unity Party. That is the political calculation of the ANC, for which they are expressing happiness and celebrating that. To them, this is a quasi or victory for them, or legally speaking, and if you like, also politically speaking. That is what they think. Now, does that make sense to you? To them, it makes sense. And I will tell you as a political guy that it also makes sense, because I run the political department here, I focus on Liberia. So I'm not saying I'm a politician, but I look at the political issues. I try to ask the players what they think, and I use my own eyes to be able to tell what they might be up to here. So yes, it does make sense. If you come to think about it, on the flip side, ANC is in court right now for framework alteration. Cummings is in the court. The ANC now should be focusing how they set their candidate. Cummings should be focused in what his message is going to be. Should be doing all other things that are not necessarily or campaign event, but political activities that will actually make him to look good. But what's happening now is in court, there's a criminal case against him. It has placed a serious dent on his reputation. The argument that he's clean, that argument will be a tough sell for him right now. So I'm saying all this to say that the ANC and Alexander Benedict Cummings, they have been seriously impacted by the criminal case in the court. So the ANC standing, or Alex Cummings standing, his name recognition, and also the favorability of his name as a political or candidate to be, and as a presidential hopeful or presidential aspirant, there is a serious dent on it. Many people might not be paying attention to him now because of this. Unity Party has given a serious narrative against him because of this case. The CDC, which is the greatest winner in all of these things that are happening, can well tell the Liberian people, you see, these opposition people, they are not credible people. They are fighting. They said they were united. Imagine they have not come to power here. See the kind of fight that are going on. These people can't even get their horse in order. Can you trust them? The CDC has gained a substantial narrative against the CPP. That is what the CDC has gained. A remarkable narrative against these leaders, that they are greedy for power, that they cannot put forth a single ticket, and they are fighting among themselves. That means that when they come to power, this is what you're going to see. So the CDC, like them or not, they are the winners here. And this will mean that CDC will successfully have the two major contenders against us as yet in court. Who runs the court? The CDC runs the court. The CDC can well delay this case, or these two cases. Yes, to put it right, two cases. One against the Unity Party, one against the ANC by default, Alexander Benedict coming. So if the CDC get these two mean political opponents and parties in its own court, where it will now have the opportunity and the privilege and the authority to deal with them legalistically, to deal with them politically, then of course the CDC is increasing its chances, thereby minimizing the chances of these two people. Now, legally speaking, from what I gather from a source, a lawyer friend, is that when a Supreme Court receives any matter that is an election matter, or any matter that is connected to a pending election, that case or that matter gets a priority. So the Supreme Court now, by law, will give this particular issue first preference. Normally, the way the Supreme Court works is the Supreme Court works on a basis of first come, first serve. So if you carry a case and your case is the first, the Supreme Court will look at your case. All other cases will fall in line. Now, the Supreme Court docket is filled with so many cases. So if this case were not a case bordering, that has something to do with election, the Supreme Court will put it at the back. Chances are that clearly this matter would not be looked into by the Supreme Court until maybe a year later. So that would have meant that, well, the entire opposition community, not the entire opposition community, the Unity Party and the ANC would have been completely done. But the fact that this matter is an election matter, the Supreme Court now will entertain the matter and will look into it. Now, whether or not the Supreme Court decides or gives a ruling in this matter in a month, in 1 month, in 2 months, in 3 months, that is why I am not certain as to how soon it will make a decision. And I did not have much time to talk to some lawyer friends whether the Supreme Court has a time limit as to how much time frame it will have to look into a matter before concerning a pending election. Is it 1 week? Is it 1 month? Or can it be immediate? Can the Supreme Court take its own time and look into the case, looking at all the facts and making a decision? And if that is the case, if the Supreme Court have to take as much time as it would need, does it mean that will also lead to the halting of the election and also postponing it so that when the matter is decided, the conduct of the election can be in line with the Constitution, because the Constitution is clear. After 90 days following a vacancy, an election should be conducted. So that is what has been started. So if the Supreme Court is to pull hot to it, because it may need some time I believe the Supreme Court ruling will be in line with the Constitution. So I'm saying all of this to say it is hard for me as an individual to tell how long it's going to take before the Supreme Court decide in this matter. Bear you in mind now, the National Election Commission is yet to send its formal notification of this matter to the Supreme Court. It has just finalized the case today. It will now have to put all of its finding together, communicate it officially to the Supreme Court. And like I said earlier, the Supreme Court now will have to look at the matter to decide whether actually the National Election Commission has the authority to have made a ruling for or against, and it did not, or actually does not at all have that authority, as it is saying now, because the NEC is saying it does not have that authority to decide. So it was sending the matter to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to handle it. But like I said earlier, election activities continues. Election activities continue because the NEC does not have the power to stop itself. The NEC is acting on a constitutional mandate to conduct an election. Only the Supreme Court has the authority to stop any constitutional mandate that is being executed by any institution, in this case, the National Election Commission. So, folks, that is the breaking news. That is the breaking news. The National Election Commission has given its final ruling in the case that was filed against the Unity Party, that the Unity Party cannot field a candidate in the upcoming by-election, and in fact, by default, in all other elections, because the Unity Party, like the ALP, withdrawn from the CPP, and the CPP framework document, Article 8.52, titled Withdrawal, said when a constituent member withdraws from the CPP, that person does not have the right to field a candidate in its own name. So that is the breaking news. The Supreme Court, the National Election Commission is saying, well, this borders on constitutionality. This is a right issue. We do not have the authority to make that decision. We are sending this matter to the Supreme Court, but at the same time, we do not have the authority to stop all other election activities. All other election activities continue because we are yet to get any statement from the Supreme Court telling us to stop. Only the Supreme Court has the right to tell us that stop all election activities. By default, the Unity Party, until the Supreme Court can put a halt to these activities, the Unity Party is in limbo. By that, I mean, its decision to field a candidate in Lofa, at least technically, is now on hold. That's what it means. But all other candidates and all other political parties that put forth candidates, they continue with their processes. So that is the breaking news. I hope I was able to try my best in helping to, put some context and my own little understanding of this matter. This is a serious matter. I will be the first to admit to you this is bigger than me. I am not an election expert. I am not a lawyer. This borders on constitutionality. This borders on legality. This is a serious election matter. But I also know this thing is political. And it is the political aspect I always try to do my best to understand a little more. So I did not come here with authority on the issue. And as a media person, I talk to break the news to you and provide the best I understood concerning this matter. So, folks, at this time, I will look at the comments and read your comments. And I know you have some disagreements with me, rightfully so. The fact that, this is a serious matter and it's fluid right now. Anthony, can you please stop insinuating that the NEC is sending the case to the Supreme Court Yes, I am not insinuating that is the fact. This one, I'm strong on the NEC will send the matter to the Supreme Court. The NEC will send this matter to the Supreme Court. So this is what the NEC said, and I'm going to read it to you. And that statement basically means, it said, wherefore and in view of the foregoing, and so as to allow the opportunity for the Honorable Supreme Court to possibly consider the constitutional question raised by this matter, the National Election Commission is hereby prohibited from taking any further action on any endorsement form or other document put forth by the defendant herein regarding the feeding of a candidate until otherwise determined. So, folks, you see right there, the National Election Commission is referring the matter to the Supreme Court. It cannot just communicate this ruling that is actually intended for the parties to the conflict. To me, this is a formal communication to the Supreme Court. I spoke with a friend, not necessarily a friend here, but focus on Liberia. We have our democracy and election expert. So we contacted him, and he was able to give us his expert opinion. And by the way, he had been able to work at the National Election Commission, and he represented Liberia on election matters across Africa, and I can also say, across the world. All right. So he said, when the National Election Commission makes a determination that it does not have authority in any election matter, it will communicate that formally to the Supreme Court. So yes, this one, I'm not insinuating, I am telling you the truth, and you will wait. You have to wait and see that. So let me continue with comments here. The NEC is done with the case. That is correct. The NEC has given a final ruling that we don't have the authority to decide. It has made a final decision, and this this person who commented here is right. The losers are the ones appealing the result at NEC. That is what he's saying. And let's hear from Carter here. The $1 million question is whether the Supreme Court will fast track the case due to its constitutionality. My lawyer friend said, yes, the Supreme Court will actually look into the matter. It will treat the matter with the utmost priority because it is a matter that is concerning a pending election. So the Supreme Court will look into it. But how long it will take, that is why we are not sure, and the Supreme Court has to be given the opportunity to do so. Let's hear from Mr. Kwade. Is that Mr.? Yeah, I believe Mr. Kwade. Watching your TV from Red Light Market. Thank you there for watching. Let's hear from Nelly Sally Savage. You did very well answering. This has been a long-awaited decision as we as lawyers and legal personnel knew all along. Thanks. Okay, so the president said they knew this is why we have come to that. At the end of the day, the National Election Commission are going to say, well, this borders on constitutionality. We don't have the authority. Let's hear from Michael here. Michael Wright, you are a joker because the people know, shouldn't be known, the people know their tax are to work. The struggle continues. Come back. And then, well, let me leave that. It's not anything. Let me hear from Sharif here. Sharif, right? Supreme Court get the power to postpone the by-election until the case is over. I believe so. I believe you are right. Supreme Court has that power. Flomo Livingston, why the CPP don't have a candidate in this by-election? That is a question. If you know for a fact that they don't have, a candidate, then that is a good question. Why? Maybe they have made a determination that they will not win that. It could be, right? Only the loser. Okay, I think I read that. Let's hear from Amos Josh. Amos Josh, right? The Supreme Court will fast track the case because it is an election matter. All right, that is your answer to the person who was asking that. I think I tried to say something like that, but I was not that sure. Lots of comments here. Let's hear from Swab Mampu. Hopefully, the Supreme Court makes it a priority, but I believe they won't. Go Cummings. I don't know what she mean by that, but of course she said she's hoping, but she's not sure there. But the part that Go Cummings, I don't know what that means. The moral of the story is the entry, the entity I think it meant CPP, the UP, the ALP, LP, and the ANC have chosen to self-destroy themselves. The only beneficiary is the CDC. I think he meant. All right. Let's hear from Honorable Mark Bill Clintosh Camara. Nelson Fremont NEC will reject it and put it on pending. I don't understand that, my friend. CPP is greedy for power, but the CDC is the corrupt government in power. It's like Liberia is not having that many good options as yet. Only a joker will listening to CDC because the Liberians are closely monitoring and taking notice of what the government is doing, and it will not help them. Well, that statement can be true if the Liberians will do what you think they are capable of doing, that they will not listen to all this noise and distraction and unfortunate behavior and greed and the inability to work together that just happened in the CPP, and will still find somebody within the CPP or collectively or in their majority. If only the Liberian people will be able to do so, then you are right. But if the Liberian people will get confused, or even if it is not confused, it will get discouraged by the behavior from these leaders and decide that President Weah should be their guy, then you are wrong. Lots of comments. Let me hear from Isaac Harris. Yes, but can that narrative stick? After all, the public is rarely viewing the case as one that is butcher, he said. I believe so. I'm not sure there. Let's hear from Emmanuel Camara. Gonglo is going to be the benefactor of all these sagas, he writes. Yet, Tiawan Gonglo, now he has an opportunity, because if anything that is being really, really discouraging and hard to follow and not associating, it's this thing about the CPP, right? I mean, come on. These people who came and said that, the CPP will hold, it was like that was their slogan. The CPP will hold, it will hold, it will hold. We have one-term president, and here they are fighting among themselves, taking each other to court. It's like their headquarters now is either the National Election Commission or the Supreme Court, where the almighty CDC sits and waiting for them. It's like they are all rats, and they took their cases to a court that is headed and run by cats, and cats everybody want to eat rats. The cats are all over the place looking for rats to devour, and yet come rats, bringing themselves to the cat's courts. What do you expect the cats to do? The cats will do what it does best to rats, right? That is what the cat would do. What the cat does to a rat is to devour, to eat it raw. Folks, more comments here. This one from Mapu, Herring P. Costa. Once on his show said this is Cummings' path, or it was what Cummings always wanted. Cummings is dangerous because there is no way Unity Party policy ever signed that clause. Mapu is preaching she's preaching what I believe is that her truth, or maybe what she knows. All right. Let's hear from Emmanuel Camara. Disassociate yourself from both parties and join the Gonglo team. He is campaigning to people who might be, tired of this CPP nonsense. NEC has already taken a decision anyway. They have said until the Supreme Court decides, they cannot accept up to fee a candidate. This is a decision. That is correct. You are right about that. Even though they say they cannot make a decision, but at default, they have made a decision. And as yet, the Unity Party aspirant is yet to be shortlisted as the Unity Party's candidate, right? Okay, lots of comments. But again, this is a breaking news. We do not want to take too much of your time here. Lots of comments, and we want to say thank you so very much for coming, following, watching, sharing, and also commenting. And this is how I will close it right now. This is how I will close it, folks. This is how I will close this breaking news. Folks, before I close, let me take this little break to catch my breath, because my closing is going to be powerful and you're going to like it. So let me take a break. And when I come back, wait for that closing. And you're going to
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
So, folks, this is how I'm going to close on this breaking news. Liberia politician will say it's at a crossroad. We have a government in power that has proven to not be up to the task. The corruption news that we receive either weekly, monthly, non-stop is enough for the people of Liberia to rethink the decision they made in 2017. President George Weah, is obvious, is a corrupt leader. President Weah is so corrupt to the core, and he is not transparent for that obvious reason, that he will not make his assets public for the Liberian people to see what he owes and owns. Weah will not disclose his assets and liabilities. In 2005, when President Weah contested, he did declare and he made it public. He told us what he had. 2011, he declared and made it public. 2017, he declared and made it public. In other words, he published it for us to see. President Weah was on record for saying he was not making much to be able to pay his child support. President Weah was so broke to understand that his house on 9th Street was in a dilapidating condition. And during that time, he didn't have money. Some CDC lawmakers were bankrolling him. Even cars have to be purchased for President Weah by some individuals. That Weah will become president, will be asked to declare his asset, will refuse to declare his assets. He declared his assets 6 months into office in violation of the Code of Conduct law, which says that before an elected official or any officials of government can take the oath of office, that person should declare his asset. President Weah violated, and more so, he did not disclose to the Liberian people what were his assets and liabilities. In other words, what he had and what he owed, or what he owned and what he did not own. He did not tell us. In no time, he became president. In no time, he broke down his 9th Street residence and started turning it into a palace. In no time, he acquired himself a private jet, and he said he had borrowed it from a friend to boost his morale. In no time, for the 9 condominiums were in the roof for President Weah, he will not stop. He got himself a music recording studio. He built himself a movie theater. He built himself a church. The cars were floating. He got himself a slingshot. He started traveling. His traveling allowances were as huge and continue to be as huge as you can ever imagine. He started dressing elegantly. Even when he took over, the very day, he allotted over 250,000 United States dollars to refurbish, to renew, to furnish the office that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has just used and turned over to him. This brother started taking care of himself in no time and had a ban on the people who are elected him. He forgot that on the day when he got elected, he was crying. Some people felt that he was crying because he wanted to serve his people so well, and that his people had suffered, he wanted to do for them. Little did we know that Weah was crying for himself, that his suffering was over, his days of nothingness was over, and it was a time for George Weah to start balling again. And so Weah started balling. Boys, he boys, and he's balling. So, folks, Liberians are in poverty. Poverty has increased. Prices are in the roof, skyrocketed in some places. The economic situation in Liberia has deteriorated to the point that there are many beggars today in our land. Even an airport, they cannot keep the lights on. We are in trouble. Do not get carried away by these little structures, Le Manques and the sport part and all that. Our people are in terrible shape. And so, folks, election has consequences. And so, folks, let me also bring to you the insecurity that's in the country. Auditors died. No logical conclusion. And many other deaths. People are dying mysteriously. The police cannot conclude any of these investigations. Even corruption cases are getting swept under the carpet. The very election matters we're talking about, the National Election Commission boss was inducted by the LACC, the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission, that she should be dismissed. That woman is still on the job. Where are we going? People accused of stealing money are being allowed to stay on the job, while the Liberian people are languishing in abject poverty and misery and mayhem. Engulf the country. We have a Zogo crisis. The future of Liberia as we speak now is completely Zogo. There are no serious effort in place by this government to reverse the trend. Thus, we are deserve re-election. The CPP is telling us we are deserve re-election, even though they will want us to believe otherwise. For I said this because action speaks louder than words. Look at this disunity and the infighting and the hatred and the bad blood that they created among themselves to the point that they have taken themselves to court. They have destroyed everything that they have built and they have going for them. So, of course, the politician could not be point on, and I agree with them. They are on point when they say, or when they do say, Liberia is at a crossroad. Liberia is really at a crossroad, folks. Yes, we are. So who becomes president matters. Who gets elected matters. When Liberian people get this right, when they're being confused by the political actors, who care for only themselves. This matter is going to go to the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court decides will have a serious implication and may actually sway the election into the direction of somebody where it be we are. If anybody is benefiting from all of this that's going on, George Weah and the CDC are benefiting. Now, whether that benefit is enough for them to get a second term is yet to be known. The Liberian people will have to decide. Cummings is being hampered by this case. Mr. Bwaka is beginning to be hampered by this matter. Tiawon Gonglo has declared his intention to become a presidential candidate in the upcoming election. Is Mr. Gonglo going to be the man of the people? Gonglo said he's going to win this thing. He's been having interviews here and there. Should we look at Gonglo? Is Gonglo our guy here? Is Tiawon our guy here? For I'm not sure of we are being the man for the land. We are has been the man for himself and his few friends. They are spreading out millions all across the country to buy votes way before time, in violation of our laws. All they care about how they remain in power for their own benefit. So is Tiawon the guy to be? That is the case he has to make. That is the case his supporters have to make. Is Cummings going to be our guy? Or is he tinted already? Or is he damaged already? Or will he come from the court where he resurrect? Where he build a now in back to CPP, where he formed a coalition, where he brought in the 10. And will he go to win? I don't know. Will Bwaka capitalize on his name recognition? Does he have the ability to even do so? Will money not be his problem as it has always been? Will his poor decision making not hamper him? Just like Cummings is very poor with decision making when it comes to politics. For we are is the worst of all. I'm not preaching Tiawon Gonglo's message. It's he to preach his message. The other players have marked a huge margins to their chances. Tiawon, will you mark a margins to your own chances? Or will you place an exclamation mark of yes to your own name and chances? It is yours to make the case. And the Liberian people will decide. Whoever wins, Liberia remains where it is. For it has been placed into a hole that if we are not careful and we do not get the right person, we might remain in that hole in the next 24 years. Mark my words for it. But this is doable, fellow Liberians, with the right person, with the right programs, with the right decisions, with the right policies, with the man who is prepared to use the law to hold others accountable and see to it that they are prosecuted when they violate the laws. Who is prepared to bring all Liberians together, bring the best and the brightest together to build a government that will put in place the rightful policies and run a people-centered government. Until and only then, fellow Liberians, this country that you love, that I love, will remain in the political canopy, sealed with corruption, sealed with injustices and rapes of all sorts, with zogos all over the place. It will remain in this canopy of nothingness. Only a man with the heart, with a political courage, with a political wherewithal, and the political will be able to break the seal of this political canopy that has engulfed us negatively as a country. I know that man. That man possesses the qualities that are needed. But when the Liberian people see him, I'm not prepared to tell you that man. Because if I say it, you will not believe me anyway. Well, I have to go. I have to say that's the breaking news. And I have to say, I hope I was able to do my best. And I have to say, Wise Focus on Liberia always for balanced reporting, balanced analysis, fairness, better representation of the image of our country. Keep following. Maybe you will see the picture one day, will click. What we have coming this evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Focus on Liberia will be on Prive FM live on the radio in Liberia. This same breaking news will be discussed. Alosha Toe from the ANC will be our guest. We have all panelists. We got biting questions for him. Is this thing a victory for them? Why are they celebrating? Is there anything here to celebrate? Hey, Toe will even make the case that they are right, that the Unity Party cannot fee a candidate. That will be educative. That will be informative. That will be worth knowing. You should not miss it. Live here, Focus on Liberia. 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. GMT. You do not want to miss it. Until I catch you again, there is a song here that we all love. That song says, we are all Liberians, and that song takes us home. Until I catch you again with my trouble, my name is Anthony Sia, or you can call me Mwanansia. Bye-bye, folks.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Unity, all we want. Liberia, oh. Unity, all we want. Liberia, be Liberian. Oh, Liberia, oh, yeah. Our Father, who art in heaven. Oh, yes. Hello, be darling, oh. Hello, be long gone. Hello, be darling, oh. I be darling. Give us the Lord. I want it back. Forgive us the Lord. Forgive one another. Hey, you just let me go. Destroy our